This is the story of a prison where individuals arrive willingly, seeking to atone for their sins. But can they truly endure the trials that lie ahead? Right from the movie's opening, we see numerous people sharing their stories, explaining who they are and the sins that led them to this place. Among them, we meet Perempuan, the film's central character. Like everyone else here, she came to punish herself, burdened by the guilt of a child's tragic death. Before landing in this prison, she was a sculpture artist who hosted an exhibition showcasing gruesome, bloodied animal figures. These sculptures were sharp and ominous. During the event, her boyfriend's young son was playing and accidentally collided with one of these dangerous pieces, causing a sharp fragment to pierce his eye. He died instantly from the injury. Perempuan felt this tragedy was her fault because she had refused to put any protective barriers around the sculptures. Now, overwhelmed with guilt, she came to this prison unaware of the perilous consequences awaiting her. In this prison, she shares a cell with Zamyatin, a mathematician whose obsession with numbers cost him his job, family, and sanity. He was fixated on solving a new equation that had plagued his mind for years but remained unsolved. Zamyatin asks Perempuan for help with this equation. What is the square root of -1? Perempuan couldn't solve it and deemed it an impossible task. Yet, Zamyatin became consumed by this unsolvable puzzle, choosing to join the prison in an attempt to quiet his troubled mind. Then, we meet the Master, the leader of this entire prison organization. Interestingly, it's never revealed who constructed this place, but we learn that even the Master is a prisoner, supported by a group known as the Loyalists. The prison itself resembles a towering structure with over 362 floors. Every day, food is served from the top, starting with floor 1. The Loyalists ensure that food is distributed downwards floor by floor. However, not everyone cares about sharing the food, and by the time it reaches the 100th floor, there's often nothing left. The people who take more than their share are part of a group called the Barbarians. These barbarians are ruthless, willing to commit any act, even murder, just to secure their portion of food. Meanwhile, the unfortunate souls on the lower floors often starve to death. An unusual aspect of this prison is the Master's commitment to ensuring everyone gets their fair share. He goes so far as to abstain from eating for an entire month. When he's on the brink of death from starvation, he offers his own flesh to feed those on the lower floors, hoping to save them from a similar fate. If any member of the Loyalist group breaks their code, the consequences are severe. Either they face a brutal punishment or are killed outright. Before entering this place, each person was asked just one question: what is your favorite food? That one choice determined what they would be served during their entire stay here. The only exception was that prisoners could trade their meals with their cellmates if they didn't want to eat what they were given. But this was only possible if the people on the upper floors allowed it. Those on the higher levels would constantly monitor the lower ones. If anyone tried to take more food or violated the rules, they faced harsh penalties. Their hand might be severed, or worse, they could be executed. And if someone died within the prison, their meal wasn't redistributed. Instead, the food was discarded and wasted. When Perempuan first arrived, she landed on platform 24, which meant she had access to plenty of food. However, every month, the entire prison would go through a reset. The prisoners on higher levels would move down, and those on lower levels would move up. Everyone would be assigned a new platform. At one point, Perempuan ended up on platform 174, where the amount of food drastically reduced. Despite this, the Loyalists still enforced the rule that they must leave behind some food for those on the lower platforms. Often, the Loyalists would try to convince the selfish prisoners by reminding them that their turn on the lower floors would come too. They would say, "Imagine when you're stuck below and others don't save food for you, you could starve to death." While some understood this and complied, the Barbarians had a different mentality. They devoured the food meant for others, showing no regard for the people below. In this way, many sacrifices made by the Loyalists went in vain. Eventually, it was time for another shift, and everyone's platform changed once again. This time, Perempuan and Zamyatin found themselves on platform 180. Here, even getting a dirty plate to lick was considered lucky. They spent a grueling 20 days starving, with another 10 days left before the next shift. But they couldn't even trust the shift anymore. Who knew if they would move up to a higher platform or sink even further down? The thought of descending lower filled them with dread, as the hunger would only grow more unbearable. A stroke of misfortune hit Perempuan and her companion. Their assigned floor was 51. However, after the intense battle, they were unable to return to their platform and ended up trapped on much lower floors, where there was absolutely no food left. At this point, Perempuan's companion reassured her, saying, "Don't worry, there's a way to escape. During each shift, a gas is released to put everyone to sleep. If someone can resist the gas and stay awake, they might have a chance to break free." They only needed to hold on for one more month, anxiously waiting for the next shift. But before they could make it, the Loyalists decided to punish them for abandoning their assigned floor and breaking the group's rules. Since this was the second time Perempuan's companion had defied the Loyalists, her punishment was execution. They bound Perempuan tightly and cut off her hand as a severe warning. Her companion, however, was tied to a table and sent down to the lower platforms, where the starved prisoners were waiting. They tore her apart, consuming her flesh. Perempuan was devastated by the brutal death of her friend. Now, she found herself on platform 72, sharing the space with an elderly man who carried a knife. Seizing the opportunity, Perempuan took the knife from him, feeling a new sense of resolve. A plan formed in her mind. Instead of targeting the barbarians, she now wanted revenge against the Loyalists who had taken her hand and her friend away. Although the Loyalists believed they were upholding a good cause, Perempuan realized she had more in common with the barbarians now. The barbarians might have stolen food, but at least they didn't kill in the name of principles. Armed with this new determination, she took her old companion's memory and boarded the food lift, riding it down to the lower platforms. There, she rallied the barbarians, urging them to rise up against the Loyalists. She gathered a small group, slowly increasing their numbers as they moved up the tower. Once the food was depleted, they reached the platforms held by the Loyalists. Upon arriving, Perempuan declared war. The people around her believed the fight was for food, but in truth, it was a battle for freedom. Perempuan no longer sought food. She was now focused on breaking free from this twisted prison and escaping once and for all. In this place, people abandoned any sense of humanity and turned against each other with savage brutality. Some used knives to inflict pain, while others wielded anything they could find as a weapon. Whoever stood in their way was met with violence, and many were slaughtered, both barbarians and Loyalists alike. Amidst the chaos, Perempuan was eventually captured by the Loyalists. But she wasn't done fighting yet. She launched a final assault against them. The Loyalists weren't about to let her rebellion go unchecked. Desperate, Perempuan called out to the barbarians for help. Yet, none of them came to her aid. Realizing she was on her own, she decided to fight back herself. Grabbing a large knife, she plunged it deep into the stomach of the Loyalist master, killing him instantly. The death toll was staggering. Countless bodies lay lifeless. As the food lift began to move once more, the corpses started falling down along with it, providing a gruesome feast for the starving prisoners below. Perempuan stayed on the lift as it descended to platform 331, an area where even breathing was a challenge, and survival seemed impossible. The place was covered in a heap of corpses. There, she discovered a wounded child, bleeding from the head. Despite her own dire situation, she decided to save the child. She had heard rumors that children were given special treatment here. They were fed, sometimes even moved to the upper platforms. But once these children grew older, they became trapped in the vicious struggle for food like everyone else. Determined to escape with the child, Perempuan planned to take the lift back up. However, the platform had to descend 2 more floors first before it could go up again. When the lift reached the very bottom, a frenzy broke out. The starved prisoners on the lowest floor, having smelled something unfamiliar after years, the scent of human flesh, went wild. In their desperation, they saw humans as nothing but food. The situation escalated quickly, and it was only a matter of time before they would attack Perempuan and the child. It became painfully obvious that her attempt to escape was futile. She realized she could never leave this place. The final scene shows Perempuan trapped in this hopeless cycle as the movie comes to a close. That wraps up today's video. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe for more movie recaps like this. Feel free to leave a comment below if you'd like us to cover one of your favorite films. Until next time, take care and stay tuned.